I'm Madison Parker, and at 32 I figured I'd seen it all. But my sister's birthday party completely wrecked my world. I went to that party thinking it'd just be cake and small talk. Instead, I got totally humiliated in public. In front of 30 guests, my own father gets up with a microphone and demands I hand over the keys to my $3 million penthouse, the one I worked my butt off for, as a gift for my jobless sister. "It's only fair," he said, his voice faking concern. The entire room went dead quiet. Every single person was staring at me. My heart was pounding, but I said no. That's when he just snapped. He slapped me right across the face so hard, my earring flew off and skittered across the floor. You could hear everyone gasp. Somebody already had their phone up recording the whole thing. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just calmly picked up my earring, gave my sister a cold little smile, and walked out. In the hallway, I took out my phone and hit one button. 30 minutes later, a woman busted into the party. "You have 5 minutes, or else," she said. Her voice was like ice. The tension in the room got thick. Everyone started looking around, panicked, wondering what was about to go down. What came next? You're not going to believe it. Before I get to the rest of the story, tell me, what time is it where you are, and what city are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I'd really love to see where this story is getting to. So that night, I walked into my parents' huge house in Atlanta for Ashley's 35th birthday. The whole place just screamed money, marble floors, windows from the floor to the ceiling, and a skyline view that would make anybody jealous. My dad had pulled out all the stops. He even hired a private chef and a string quartet. Crystal chandeliers were hanging over all this catered food. I'd already pitched in $300 for wine and another $500 for the chef, and not one person said thank you. Instead, my mother just breezed right past me, fussing over the desserts like I wasn't even there. As people started showing up, I looked around. My older sister, the birthday girl, floats in, wearing some expensive designer dress. Her laugh was loud, and she didn't have a care in the world. My parents were beaming, calling her the star of the night, even though she's 35 and jobless. "She's just finding her path," my mom said to Aunt Patricia, who was nodding like she was hearing the gospel. All the while I was just standing there, the 32-year-old CTO of a tech company with a $2 million penthouse. And I still felt like a complete stranger. Dad pulled Ashley in for a hug, going on about her charm and her grace, all the things I guess I don't have, because I chose a career over a husband. Mom whispered to me when I offered to help with guests, "Less ambition, more warmth." It really stung, but I just bit my tongue. Then Aunt Patricia chimed in, her voice all sharp. "Does all that tech stuff make you happy, Madison? Or does it just make you rich?" Uncle Richard just laughed, drinking my wine, and said, "She's way too busy for a family." Even my cousin Brandon, who's barely 30, smirked and said, "What's the point of a fancy job if you're alone?" The whole room was just buzzing with their judgment. Every comment was another dig. I tried my best to just blend in, making small talk with neighbors and friends. I smiled through their stories and nodded when they complimented Ashley's free spirit. But the air felt so heavy, like I was on trial just for being successful. My parents didn't once mention that I helped pay for the party, and they sure didn't bring up my big promotion from last month. They didn't care that I made it on my own. Ashley, meanwhile, was eating up all the attention with her fiancé Jason right by her side. Both of them were just loving the spotlight. I caught her eye for a second, hoping for at least a little nod of thanks. She just looked away. "You're welcome for the wine," I muttered, knowing she couldn't hear me. I walked over to the bar and poured a glass of the same wine I'd paid for. A family friend, Mrs. Henderson, went up to her all smiles. "You must be so proud of your sister," she said. "She's got such a bright future." I forced a smile, my hand gripping the glass tightly. Proud of what Ashley hadn't worked in years, just living off my parents, while I was busting my butt to get ahead. But here she was, the golden child, while I was the black sheep for not following their plan. My chest felt tight, but I swallowed the hurt. I wasn't going to let them see me crack. While the music played, Dad raised his glass to toast Ashley's amazing spirit. The guests clapped and cheered, the sound echoing off the walls of my own penthouse. I just stood in the corner, my stomach in knots. I just wanted to feel like I belonged, like I was really part of this family. So I stayed put on a fake smile and shook hands. I laughed at their stupid jokes, but I knew this wasn't where I belonged. The way they looked at me, like I was too much, and yet somehow not enough, made that perfectly clear. I took a deep breath, stood up straight, and decided to just get through it. As they were cutting the birthday cake, my father stood up with a microphone. The room went silent. The string quartet stopped playing. Dad had this huge, almost staged smile on his face as he raised his glass. "Tonight we celebrate my daughter's 35th birthday," he announced, his voice booming through the apartment. "And I have an announcement. Madison, our very generous daughter, is gifting her penthouse to Ashley to help her get a fresh start." The words hit me like a ton of bricks. All 30 guests turned to look at me, their eyes waiting, some of them already clapping. My stomach dropped. My penthouse, which cost $2 million that I earned from years of sleepless nights and coding, was being given away like some party favor. Ashley, my older sister, gasped, putting a hand to her chest. "Oh, Dad, really?" she said, her voice dripping with fake surprise. But I saw that flicker in her eyes, the little smirk, before she gasped. She knew. This wasn't some last-minute thing. It was a setup. I just stood there, frozen, my wine glass cold in my hand, while the whole room waited for me to answer. Dad kept talking, his tone so condescending. "Ashley's been having a hard time. You know, jobless for a while. It's only right for family to help out, right, Madison?" The guests all nodded and agreed, looking at Ashley with pity, and then at me, expecting me to just go along with it. Then my mother chimed in. Her voice was soft, but her words were sharp. "Madison, you've done so well for yourself. Sharing with your sister is the least you can do." Aunt Patricia, sitting nearby, leaned in. "It's a beautiful gesture," she said with a tight fake smile. "Don't be selfish, dear." Uncle Richard nodded, his voice rough. "Family first, Madison. You don't need a place that big anyway." I was all alone. The pressure was suffocating. Their words just kept piling on. I glanced at Ashley's fiancé, Jason, who wouldn't even look at me. He just sipped his drink. The room felt like it was closing in thick with judgment. I set my glass down. My hands were steady. My hands were, even though I was absolutely furious inside. "No," I said. My voice was clear, and it cut right through all their whispering. The guests froze. The clapping died down. The smile on Dad's face vanished. "What did you say?" he snapped. I stood up straight and looked him right in the eye. "I'm not giving up my penthouse. I earned it. Every single dollar, every late night, every single pitch meeting. It's mine. Ashley's problems are not my problem." My words just hung there, and I wasn't sorry. Ashley's face crumbled, but I could see her thinking behind those fake tears. She wasn't hurt. She was pissed. I'd called her bluff. My mom stepped up, her voice getting louder. "Madison, how could you say that? Your sister needs you." My Aunt Patricia gasped, grabbing her necklace. "That's so cold," she said, loud enough for the whole room to hear. Uncle Richard just shook his head, muttering, "Ungrateful." Then the guests started whispering. You could feel the shock and judgment in the room. Some woman I barely knew. Mrs. Thompson leaned over to her husband and said, "She's always been too independent." Another guest, a family friend, just added, "Poor Ashley stuck with a sister like that." You could practically feel them judging me, every word a little jab. But I kept my head high. I wasn't going to crumble. "I've supported this family," I said, my voice steady, but louder this time. "I paid for half of this party, the wine, the chef, everything. But my home is not up for grabs." The room got quieter, and the whispers turned nasty. Dad's face got red, and he gripped the microphone even tighter. Ashley started sniffling, dabbing at her eyes. But I wasn't falling for it. She knew this was coming. She probably practiced that crying face in the mirror. Mom's eyes shot back and forth between us, looking panicked and angry. "Madison, you're embarrassing us," she hissed. But I wasn't backing down. I'd spent years proving myself, building a life they refused to even acknowledge. This was my line in the sand. The tension was so thick you could cut it. The guests started shifting in their seats, looking uncomfortable. A couple of people pulled out their phones, getting ready to record whatever was about to happen. I could feel all their eyes on me, judging me. But I also felt this weird sense of freedom. For the first time all night, I wasn't trying to please anyone. I was standing up for myself, and it felt right. But the air was electric, like something was about to explode. Dad stepped closer, his jaw clenched tight. I braced myself for what was coming. The room went dead silent as I held my ground. My father's face twisted up, and his eyes were just angry slits. "You're defying me," he yelled, getting closer. He still had the microphone in his hand. Before I could even answer, his hand swung out and cracked me hard across the cheek. The pain shot through my face, and my head snapped to the side. My pearl earring went flying, skittering across the floor, shining under the chandelier. You could hear gasps from all the 30 guests, and then just dead silence. I touched my cheek, feeling the heat start to spread, but I didn't flinch. A young guy, one of Ashley's fiancé's friends, was messing with his phone. I saw the little red light blinking. He was live streaming. "This is insane," he muttered, pointing the camera right at me. The other guests just stared. Some looked frozen, others were whispering like crazy. Ashley's eyes got wide and she covered her mouth, but I didn't see any tears. I just saw a quick flash of satisfaction. My mom came forward, her voice was shaking. "Madison, apologize to your father," she demanded, like I was the one who threw a punch. I ignored her. My eyes were locked on the earring lying next to a table leg. I bent down, my knees totally steady, and picked up the pearl. It felt cool and smooth in my hand. Then I stood up and faced Ashley, who was standing right next to Dad. She tried to look shocked, but I could see she was just smug. "Happy birthday, Ashley," I said, my voice quiet but firm. I slipped the earring into my pocket and started for the door. The guests parted, whispering as I walked past. "She's leaving," I heard someone say. Another one hissed. I didn't turn around. I couldn't care less what they thought anymore. Out in the hall, the heavy penthouse door clicked shut behind me, blocking out all the chaos. My cheek was still stinging, but I felt calm inside. I took out my phone and called my best friend Brittany Morgan. She answered on the first ring. "Madison, you okay?" she asked, her voice filled with worry. I leaned back against the cold marble wall. "Dad just slapped me," I said, my voice totally flat, even though my hands were shaking. "He demanded I give Ashley my penthouse. I said no, and then he—" My voice cracked. The betrayal hurt way worse than the slap. I heard Brittany gasp. "He did what?" she snapped. I nodded even though she couldn't see. I told her everything: the public demand, Ashley's fake tears, Mom blaming me, and all the guests just staring. Brittany listened quietly, but I could tell she was furious. "You do not deserve this," she finally said. "You've been carrying that family for years, and this is how they thank you." I closed my eyes and her words made me feel stronger. She paused, then added, "You have to call Dorothy. Your grandma will shut this down fast." I opened my eyes. A plan started to form. Brittany was right. My grandma Dorothy always saw right through my family's games. Even at 80, she held the family's purse strings and her mind was sharp as a tack. "Do it, Madison," Brittany urged. "She'll have your back." I scrolled through my contacts until I found Dorothy's name. The hallway was dead silent, the party just a faint hum. I hit the call button. My heart was pounding, but I knew it was the right thing to do. My fingers were trembling, but I felt a new kind of strength. It rang twice and she picked up. "Madison," Grandma's voice was steady, like she was expecting me. I took a breath, ready to tell her everything. 30 minutes later, the apartment door flew open. Grandma Dorothy strode in her silver cane, tapping the floor with a purpose. At 80 years old, she still walked like a queen. Her sharp eyes scanned the room. The guests froze, and the whispering stopped cold. I stood in the back, my cheeks still burning, and watched her command the room without a word. "Daniel," she said. Her voice was low but hard as steel. "Explain to me why you dared to put a hand on my granddaughter." The color drained from my father's face. The microphone almost slipped out of his hand. The whole room held its breath. Dorothy didn't wait for his answer. She raised her cane and pointed at the floor. "You have 5 minutes to find the earring. If not, I'll handle this my way." A shock went through the crowd. They all exchanged nervous glances. Ashley dropped to her hands and knees, scrambling on the floor, her fancy dress dragging. My mother grabbed my father's arm, her eyes wide with panic. "Mother, please," she stammered, but Dorothy just held up a hand and she went quiet. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Richard stood there completely frozen, their smug looks long gone. I just watched, my heart steady but heavy, as Dorothy turned to speak to everyone. "Madison is the only one I trust," she announced, her voice filling the silent room. "She built her life with her own 2 hands. No excuses. No handouts, not like some of you." She shot a look at my father, then my mother, and then Ashley, who just froze. Ashley's face crumpled. "Daniel, you run a whole company, but you can't even handle your own family. Susan, you babied Ashley until she was useless. And Ashley," her voice went ice cold, "you've taken more than enough from your sister." You could hear gasps all over the room. Phones went up everywhere, recording every single word. Dorothy took a step forward, her cane tapping. "I've made up my mind," she announced, looking right at me. "I'm changing my will. Everything, my estate, my investments, all my properties are going to Madison." And then all hell broke loose. My mom made this choked sound, her hands flying to her face. "You can't do that!" she shrieked, her voice totally shot. Ashley just fell into a chair, sobbing her eyes out. These weren't fake tears anymore. She was desperate. My dad stood there like a statue. His jaw clenched while Aunt Patricia whispered, "This is insane." Uncle Richard just nodded, looking white as a ghost. The guests started whispering. A shockwave went through the whole room. I saw Mrs. Henderson clutch her purse, muttering, "She's giving it all to Madison." Another guest, one of Ashley's co-workers, just shook her head. "Ashley's done for." The band just stopped playing, completely silent. I didn't say a word, just stood there with my hands together. I was just taking it all in. She wasn't just defending me. She was blowing up years of their lies. Our eyes met. She gave me this small nod. It was fierce and proud. Ashley started crying even harder. "Grandma, please," she begged. Her voice was cracking. "I didn't want this to happen." Dorothy's face didn't change one bit. "You wanted every second of it," she said, her voice like ice. "You knew what your father was planning, and you did nothing." My dad finally moved. His voice was shaky. "Mother, you're being dramatic. Madison is fine. She's a strong girl." Dorothy's eyes got real narrow. "She's strong because she had to be," she snapped back. "And it's no thanks to you." My mom tried again, her voice pleading. "We're family, Mother. Please don't do this to us." But Dorothy just turned her back on them and walked right over to me. The 5 minutes were up. They never found the earring in my pocket. Dorothy didn't even ask. She already knew. "This family let Madison down," she announced, her voice ringing out. "You embarrassed her, you used her, you even put your hands on her." Not anymore. The guests were squirming. Some looked away, but others kept their phones up. The room felt heavy. The fancy party was officially over. I stood tall, my head held high. I wasn't backing down. Dorothy's words were like armor. Her decision was my way out. The noise, my mom's freaking out, Ashley's crying, my dad just standing there saying nothing. It all felt far away, like a storm I didn't have to live through anymore. That night back at my penthouse, my phone was blowing up. I had so many notifications. The live stream from Ashley's party was everywhere. The comments were flooding in, just trashing my dad and saying our family had no class. That's just sick, one person wrote. Madison deserves so much better, another one said. The video already had thousands of views and every share just made people angrier. I sat on my couch, looking out at the city lights, just scrolling through everything. I felt like I'd finally won, but I was exhausted. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from a friend we both knew. Jason's family was thinking twice about the wedding, now that this whole mess was public. They're worried she has too much baggage. The text said, "This drama is too much." I put my phone down, my mind was just racing. Ashley's engagement. The one good thing she had was falling apart, all because of what our family did. For a second, I almost felt bad for her, but that feeling disappeared real quick. She just stood there while Dad humiliated me. Her silence was just as bad as him hitting me. Then the doorbell rang loud and insistent. I opened the door, and my mom and Dad were standing there looking totally worn out. Dad's shoulders were slumped. His usual confidence was gone. "Madison, we need to talk," he said in a low voice. Mom nodded, her eyes all red. "We're sorry," she added. Her voice was pleading. The pressure to help Ashley, it just got out of hand. I crossed my arms, my jaw clenched tight. Their words sounded so empty, like they'd rehearsed them. "You think saying sorry fixes this?" I asked. My voice was steady but cold. "You demanded I give you my home, and then you hit me in front of everyone." Dad flinched, but Mom kept going. "We're family, Madison. We made a mistake." I shook my head, feeling more certain than ever. "Your mistake cost you my trust," I said. "You chose Ashley over me again and again. I'm done." Dad's face turned red, but he didn't argue. Mom reached out a trembling hand, but I stepped away. "Please, Madison," she whispered. I shut the door, watching their shapes fade through the glass. My heart was pounding, but I felt lighter, like a huge weight had been lifted. I wasn't their puppet anymore. Brittany got here an hour later, and she looked furious as she hugged me. "You did the right thing," she said, sitting on the couch. "They don't get to just undo what they did." I nodded and poured us both some coffee. "The internet is tearing them apart," I said, showing her the post. Brittany looked through them, a small smile on her face. "Good. Let them deal with the consequences." She put the phone down and looked right at me. "You're stronger than they'll ever be, Madison. Cut them off for good." Her words really sank in, making me sure of my decision. I'd spent years trying to get their respect, but I was done. My phone chimed again. This time it was an email from Grandma Dorothy. I opened it and my breath caught in my throat. "Madison," it started, "my decision is final. The will is being changed and you'll be my only heir. You've proven your worth not just to me, but to yourself. Stay strong." I read it twice, and the words made me feel grounded. Dorothy's trust was like a lifeline. It was proof that everything I'd fought for mattered. Brittany squeezed my hand with a warm smile. "She's got your back," she said. I nodded, my eyes stinging with tears, but my heart felt solid. The family I'd held onto was gone, but I was ready to go on by myself. I felt this quiet peace, knowing I'd finally chosen myself. 3 months later, I was standing in my penthouse, looking out at the Atlanta skyline. The city lights were sparkling, a quiet reminder of everything I'd built. Last week, I was promoted to Chief Technology Officer at my company. My name was engraved on a glass award for innovation in AI. The ceremony was completely packed, and my colleagues were cheering as I accepted the award. My heart just swelled with pride. I'd worked so hard for this, staying up all night coding, making pitches that won $1 million contracts. This was my win, earned with my own sweat, not handed to me. I heard bits and pieces about my family's downfall from people we both knew. Ashley's engagement had totally collapsed. Jason and his family backed out, not wanting to be connected to her ruined reputation. The viral live stream made the Parkers look toxic, and the city's upper class avoided them. My father's business deals started to fall through. Clients started bailing after his name was dragged through the mud. Mom's social life tanked and nobody was showing up to her charity stuff anymore. I didn't get any satisfaction from watching them crash and burn, just a sense of calm. They made their bed and now they had to lie in it. I cut them off completely. No calls, no texts. We were done. That night I slammed the door on their pathetic apology was the last time I ever spoke to them. They betrayed me, tried to take my home, and sided with Ashley. And my own father hitting me. That drew a line in the sand. I was never going back. My phone used to blow up with their messages, but now it's just quiet. I blocked their numbers and never looked back. The family I thought I had was gone, and honestly, it was a relief. Brittany became my rock through all of it. We started hanging out every week, her laughing in my apartment, planning trips, arguing about tech stuff. It felt good. My coworkers really stepped up too. They started inviting me out to dinner and to brainstorm ideas. You could tell they actually respected me. One night my teammate Rachel raised her glass and said to Madison for proving that hard work really does pay off. I just smiled. Their support felt like armor. These people were my real family now. They saw me for who I was, no strings attached. Grandma Dorothy was still my biggest supporter. She finished transferring her whole estate to me, the properties, the investments, all of it. We were at lunch at her favorite spot when she handed me the papers. Her eyes were sparkling. "You're the only one I can trust with this," she told me. Her voice was so steady. "You've got my fight in you, Madison." I just hugged her, all choked up, knowing she believed in me meant more than any amount of money. She'd call a lot, telling me old stories. Her advice really kept me grounded. Staring out at the city, I thought about everything I'd learned. That personal boundaries are everything, a line that nobody gets to cross without consequences, not even family. I learned to protect my space and what I've earned. And my heart. Real family isn't about blood. It's about respect. It's the people who build you up, not the ones who tear you down. Brittany being so loyal, my coworkers having my back, Dorothy trusting me. That's the stuff that really matters. I wasted years trying to get approval from people who never gave a damn about me. Now I approve of myself. I turned away from the window and saw my award shining on the shelf. This penthouse used to be a war zone, but now it was my safe space. I really made it mine. It wasn't just my name on the deed. It was the life I built here. The last 3 months showed me I could be strong, independent, and not sorry for it. I picked up my phone and texted Brittany about our next get-together. The second I hit send, I felt this total peace. The Parker family drama was over. My future looked bright, and it was all mine.